my whole adult life has been basically spent rewiring all those old trauma patterns and then also the communication patterns. I ended up in the health field. In my career, I ended up dealing with burnout a lot. To heal the burnout, I really, was understanding how all of that was manifesting and creating these unhealthy patterns for me that were creating the burnouts. You don't really know until you either have someone point it out to you or you remove yourself from that situation. You see, oh, there's a different way of being. That was all I knew. When you're in it, you don't even know. You just like, oh, well, this is just how life is. Sometimes they feel lost, like they just don't know what to do next in their career or in their life. They are not feeling fulfilled and they don't know why.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. I'm your host, Nikki Ballou, and this is another one of our amazing emerging thought leader episodes. Today's guest is an absolute awesome, legendary emerging thought leader, the great Dr. Julie Hutsell Starling. Welcome to the show, Julie.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. So, Julie, tell us your backstory. How'd you get to be the great Julie Hutsell Starling?
Where should I start? Let's see. Well, I'll just give you a backstory that I grew up in an alcoholic family. My mother was a single mom alcoholic, and so I grew up in dynamics that were very, we'll just use the word dysfunctional to say the least, right? So, and abusive. So my whole adult life has been basically spent healing from that and rewiring all those old trauma patterns and then also the communication patterns, everything that happens when you grow up in a family, in a household that just is completely messed up, but you don't even know that it's messed up, right? You learn the patterns, you learn the things, and then the healing comes when you start to understand that and then rewire and unlearn all of that and learn new things, right, that are healthy and that are for you rather than working against you. So that's my backstory. And so my whole life was really about trying to prove myself and wanting love and affection, and also, just approval, right? And so that led me to, I ended up in the health field and in my career, I ended up dealing with burnout a lot. And really the root cause of that was to heal the burnout. I really, was understanding how all of that was manifesting and creating these unhealthy patterns for me that were creating the burnout. So anyway, very long story and a very small nutshell. And then we can dive in further in different places, but yeah.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. My sweet better half, who I work with, Teresa, she grew up with a single mom, and I don't think she was an alcoholic, but she exhibited some of the characteristics of a woman that was dealing with her own trauma, right? And that was brought into the lives of her kids, for a variety of reasons. I don't want to get into the whole story, but when you're telling me the story of your mom and what it was like for you, you didn't know what it was like, and that you as a young girl, you wanted to prove yourself and you wanted love and approval. I mean, I've heard Teresa tell me these things about her experience growing up, and I can truly empathize with what that must have been like for you as a young girl and a young woman.
Yeah. And the other thing is that when you're in it, you don't realize that's what you're doing, right? It was just, those were the kind of the patterns that I developed. And I mean, honestly, I was a total rebel when I was like, she and I clashed like all the time. And my sister was kind of the one who was she was younger, and she was the one that my mom would kind of turn to. So we each had our own dynamic with her, but ultimately it was for me, it was, like she was always mad. It's like, didn't matter what I did. I was always in trouble with her. Um, and I was always kind of fighting back. So yeah, I mean, so it is interesting, and I didn't even know that it was a thing until at some point one of my friends in high school, I think I was not until I was a junior, that she pointed out to me, I think your mom might be an alcoholic. I mean, I had no idea, because when you grow up in a situation where there's just constant drinking or whatever it is that they're doing, you don't really know until you either have someone point it out to you, or you remove yourself from that situation. You see, oh, there's a different way of being. That was all I knew. So, anyways, looking back on it, it's kind of interesting. When you're in it, you don't even know. You just like, oh, well, this is just how life is, and then once you have the awareness, that's when the real opportunity for healing and for change comes in. So.
On an entirely separate note from this interview, my gut tells me I should connect you and Teresa. I think the two of you ladies, if could find a way to open up to each other, would very much like each other and would very much have interesting things to say, because she got into the world of, a psychologist and become like working in a psychology clinic and managing it for 12, 13 years. And she's done a lot of that psychophysiology and biofeedback and blah, 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 and all that brain stuff so just fascinating to hear what you're saying, because similar themes have come from you in this conversation as I've heard from her. So
yeah,
it'd be neat to connect you ladies together. So, so let's pivot back to the interview. So tell me about what sorts of problems you solve for clients, and specifically what you do to solve those problems for clients.
Okay, so the problems that people come to me with include, really, they feel lost. Sometimes they feel lost, like they just don't know what to do next in their career or in their life. They're in kind of a transition point in their lives. Often they also just know that they are not feeling fulfilled, and they don't know why. And they know that something needs to change, and they feel like they're ready for change, but they don't exactly know what that looks like or how to go about doing it. But they know that they have this feeling that there's something more for them. They have this feeling that they could feel better than they're feeling, in the sense of emotionally, and in the sense of having more joy and inspiration in their lives, and having better relationships, healthier relationships that are fulfilling to them, things like that. They come to me feeling like they're missing something, or there's something else.
And so that's the problem they have, is they're feeling lost. They're in a transition point. They don't feel fulfilled. They don't know why. They feel like there's something missing. It's kind of like that Peggy Lee song, "Is That All There Is?" type of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, what do you do to solve that problem for them?
Well, I don't solve the problem for them. I guide them to the knowing that's within them, to find the answers for themselves. Now, how do I do that? There's multiple things, but ultimately, I've been in the healing field for years as an acupuncturist and medical and energy worker, and yes, and so that's really how I got into what I'm doing today. Was I started off in acupuncture and Chinese medicine. That's a whole other story too, but nonetheless, point being that I'm in the healing field, and I could be called a healer to some degree, but I do not consider that I heal people, in the sense that the body and the soul, the being of light, knows how to heal itself. And I just provide the guidance, the nudges here and there, to help them right themselves, help the body right itself, help them find themselves. And so so I'm like a conduit, right? So I just kind of guide them, and hold the space for them, and but ultimately they are the ones who made the transformation happen.
Interesting. I totally get that, and I, I get the truth of that, and I'll tell you a quick story from my own life that's going on as we speak right now, which demonstrates the truth of what you're saying, and yet, um, and this is going to sound whatever the way it's going to sound. I wonder if that's a great marketing twist on it. It's the truth of what happens, but I wonder if it's a good marketing twist. You know what I mean? So, I used to be a physical trainer, and I stopped being a physical trainer about 12 or so years ago. And I was one of the good ones. I was really good. I worked with Olympic gold medal athletes. I worked with a lot of top people in their fields, and I was in really terrific shape. And I got people into really terrific shape. And I got out of the field. I got into the field of being, uh, for lack of a better word, a guide to entrepreneurs, like a business coach of sorts. Even though I hate that phrase, right? Business coach. But so I gained a lot of weight. Like, just switch flipped in my head. I gained 50 pounds in 12 years, and I came to a decision point because I kept telling myself, hey, look, you know what to do. You've been doing this for years. You can turn this around any time. But the truth is, I used to know what to do, but I no longer knew what to do. So I hired a coach. I hired a guide in your parlance, right? And this fellow showed me what to do, and then he let me loose to do it, right? And then we just would keep track, do send him pictures, sessions, blah blah blah. Anyways, long story short is I'm down 54 pounds in 6 months. So
Yeah.
I
Wow.
achieved a really big result, and I did all the work. And yet, like, from a marketing point of view, I'm putting my hat on because I work with a lot of, experts and solopreneurs and coaches and consultants. I would tell him to marketing, say, I helped him do that. Like, I coached him to that. I helped him get that result because
Sure.
that's commercially smart. You know what I mean? For him to say that,
Mhm.
that's going to get people, because even though the truth is what he did is very much like what you described, if he said it that way from a marketing point of view, there'd be people who go, okay, well, I don't need him, right? Right? Like, I don't need him. I'm good. It's my own wise inner knowing. Let me just tap into that. Of course, they're not going to do that. You and I know
Right.
that, both of us. But it's just a really interesting differential between what they actually need to
Mhm.
understand to get the result, and what you need to tell them in order to get them to say, yes, here's my money, help me. Is it?
Absolutely. No, that's absolutely true. And of course, I don't tell people that immediately. I mean, in the
Sure.
sense that, like, I mean, everything that I talked about is leading people home to that. But yeah, I mean, I have tools that I use to get them to that place, right, where they can actually tap into their inner knowing, because that's something that most of us don't have access to. Well, we do always, but we don't know how to access it anymore because we're so wrapped up in our ego mind, right? So it's a matter of getting, kind of learning to not listen to that, so you can actually tap into what really you need to be listening to.
Awesome. Okay, so what's the dent that you're seeking to make in the universe, Julie?
The dent, I would call it an expansion. So really, like, really, I am all about transformation, and really helping people just light up and transform their lives. And as they do that, it creates a ripple effect in the world of in their world, in their lives, which then inspires others as well. So I see it as expansive. And yeah, it's powerful when you come into your own and you really start living your truth in all the ways. Then it is so beautiful and powerful. People, I mean, you can't not but inspire others around you.
That's fantastic. And so, Julie, who is your ideal client?
Yeah, my ideal client is someone who is uh, waking up to the idea that there is more for them, and that that there are different ways to go about it than what the conventional path has told them is the only way. So they're starting to understand that maybe there's other ways that don't include just schooling, education, working. There's a whole other possibility out there of ways to find myself, and the reason for that is because they're feeling purposeless, and they want to have that purpose again, and that connection with themselves, connection with others.
So have you kind of like narrowed it down demographically? Because this is more like what we call like the psychographic, you know what I mean? What kind of
Yeah.
frame of mind they have? What type of demographics are your
I
ideal clients?
mean, they tend to be women. They tend to be anywhere between the ages of 30 and 70, honestly. So it's been beautiful to work with so many different, such an age range, but it really is, I mean, that's the age range that's coming to me. And that is really they're just lighting up, and it's been amazing. So yeah.
Okay, great, great, great. All right. And like currently inside of your practice, what do you do to attract these people to you as clients?
Most of it, honestly, is word of mouth. And the rest of it is I have a blog, I have an email list. I mean, it's pretty basic. The other thing that I'm doing is I teach workshops, and those, as I've been doing that more, that has also been expanding my base in a different way. So I teach experiential workshops um, using different modalities to bring people into their bodies, into their inner knowing, basically. So that's expanding my base a lot as well.
Awesome, 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 awesome. That's fantastic. So, um, tell us one of your biggest success stories, you know, without violating confidentiality or naming names, but walk us through a case study.
Um, okay, so I have a client who has been actually in an alcoholic relationship for a long time with her partner. Her partner is the addict, and um, she's been unhappy for a long time, and she's actually tried to leave a couple of times just because she just felt helpless, but has always returned. And he's always promised to change, but then never has. Anyway, so long story short, she basically, after doing working with me, she's become stronger in her own knowing, and she's a lot more confident than she was before. It's very hard when you live with someone who's always constantly beating you up verbally, and and that was the relationship basically. And so she's a lot more confident in herself now and standing up for herself, and she is actually changing the relationship by she's moving out. There's a huge transition happening for her that is beautiful, because that she's never gotten to that real place before. And it's just been amazing to watch her and to hold space for her. And just, she just keeps telling me, I'm so grateful for the work anyway, it's been beautiful to watch how she's blossomed. She's become her own through our work.
That's amazing. Congratulations. So, listen, as an emerging thought leader who's looking to really create some expansion in the universe, what is the biggest challenge you are facing in being able to scale and help way more people?
I think that it's just finding my people, so it's just, and I feel like it's happening. It's just, my platforms are, again, I feel like the teaching is really where the platform is going to be expanding more and more. And so it's just, and I really have just reinvented myself in the last year and a half, and it's really been taking off in the last 6 months or so. So it's growing, and but really it's just finding more and more people, finding bigger and bigger platforms from which I can be sharing the work that I'm doing and the experiential workshops that I'm sharing with people that is changing people's lives like crazy.
So you're saying like word of mouth has been most of how you've attracted people, and you're looking to move beyond word of mouth into forums and things like that. That's kind of like what's not quite where you want it to be yet.
Yes, although I mean it's perfect for where it is right